Hey guys, how are you? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Logger Counseling Services. I am your host today, and I'm doing a solo podcast on a very important topic to me. And the reason that I've chosen this topic is because I've been thinking about the concept that, with a little bit of regret, considering I wish I knew then what I know now. And that's our topic for today. And I want you to really consider, what are the things that you wish you knew 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago? What are the things that you wish you had done? What are the things that you wish you had knowledge in and that you could have done something about a long time ago? And I think a lot of us live there. I think the longer that we live, the more we wonder about that sort of thing. And I want to just throw out to you this concept. I'm going to tell you some things that I wish I knew 20 years ago that I know now. And while we're doing this, I want you to consider, what are the things that you wish you had known? And what are the things right now that you're not doing that in 20 years, in 10 years, in 5 years, you're going to say, oh, I wish I did that back then. Oh, wow. I wish I worked out every day back then, 5 years ago. So I want you to consider that anything we're doing now, we get our payoff 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, sometimes a year later. I've been in business for 30 years and my payoff is now. Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, they talk about, the concept of being an overnight success. Well, let me tell you something. There's no such thing. That's a rarity. It's the building over time. It's the day in and day out. And even the way I just said that, I don't even like, because it's not like, oh, this drudgery, I'm building this. No, how about every moment that I'm alive, I'm awake and aware in the now. And I'm not judging myself, but I'm making incremental changes. I'm doing actionable steps that, if I do them today, will have an incredible impact on tomorrow. They will accumulate. It's the idea that if you took, the little first, let's say you're building a mountain with teaspoons of dirt. Let's say you take, right, 1 teaspoon, the first teaspoon that goes on the ground, as you're building that hill or that mountain. Is that any less important than the last one that has built a 30-foot hill? Is it, if it's a 5,000-foot mountain built with 1 teaspoon at a time, is the first teaspoon less valuable than the last? And that's what I want to say to you. Very often we devalue the moment that we're in and the action that we're taking because it's not doing anything big or miraculous. We're forgetting the compound effect. We're forgetting the accumulation of incremental moves. Incremental moves are the most powerful moves that you can make. It is like a superpower if you catch this vision. And what I wish I caught that vision, 20 years ago. I wish I understood the power of the moment that I'm in. So that's the first one that I wish I knew. I wish I knew the power of now, the power of a small motion, one incremental, one little tweak in a situation can turn a whole ship over time. And I wish that I knew that. So I want you today to not regret knowing that. What I want to say to you about that, though, is that what I do now is, instead of sitting around in regret that, oh, I wish I knew that now, and where would I be if I had known that? No, what I do now is I say, okay, well, I know it now. So I'm going to make every moment, and something that's going to move the needle just a little bit more. Something that's going to, I'm going to add value wherever I go. I'm going to be sure that my moments matter and that I'm not going to waste any moment that I'm living on nonsense. And you know what? We do it anyhow. Believe me, like all of a sudden you get on your phone, you're like, oh, you just keep scrolling. And like before you know it, like 30 minutes pass, well, that's 30 minutes I'm never getting back. It's like ridiculous, right? Or a show you hate. And you're like, oh my God, what the hell did I just waste time watching a television show when I could have been doing something that would get me where I really want to be in my life? So that's it. So let's start with I'm just going to just go through a few of them. And I want you to really, I hope this sparks something inside of you. Remember, everything that I do on this podcast is because I want to crush mediocrity in your life and in mine. It reminds me not to live in the middle. It reminds me to get outside of that bell curve and go all the way to the end and be a star, be a winner. And when I say a star, what I mean by that is be unique. That's where our stardom is. That's where our greatness is in the rarity that's inside of us, in the DNA that those little seeds inside of us that are packed with power. I always think of the apple seed, and I think about all the information that's in there, and it goes under the ground in the dark, and it's there for a long time. If it was thinking about, will I ever get out of this dark place I'm in? Will I ever become, this huge, majestic tree? It probably doesn't even consider that, right? But all the information is in there, and the power is in there to create this incredible thing. So I want you to understand, use your moments to create the life that you want. So the next thing that I wish I knew, number 2, what I wish I knew then, what I know now, is about profit first. It's about paying yourself first. It's about how you allocate your resources. So when I say profit first, and I love the book Profit First, excuse me, I highly suggest it. I try to live my financial life based on it. And what a great guy who wrote that book. You'll see that in the notes, and just shout out to him. Maybe one day you'll be on my podcast, buddy, Mike, who wrote Profit First. Great guy. But anyhow, not like I know him. I'm throwing the name around like I know the dude. I don't know him at all. I would love to know him. But anyhow, back to what we do with our first fruits, what we do with the first thing in the morning, what we do with the first of our money, what we do with the first of our time, what we do with the first of our love. Like, what do we do with it? And I think, in his book, he talks about, doing things completely opposite of what our society does. What accounting is normally like, like accounting is more as profit is what's left over. And what he talks about is that you want to take your profit first. And that what that means to me is that you want to pay yourself first, or know what you're doing with, let's just go with money. So if you're doing the finances and you take your profit first, then you're in charge of your profit. And everything else has to bow down to that. Your expenses have to bow down to that. How you allocate your money, has to bow down to the profit that you insist on. And the way that we think, and the way that we believe, and the way that we command our life is incredible, because it creates something that we don't realize we have the power to create. So it's also, I think about, the first time that I allocate to my day. So when I wake up, do I spend an hour scrolling on the phone? What do I do with that first hour? That's something that I've been working on and have worked on, is that, you don't pick up your phone in the first hour, because then you're in a state of reaction instead of creation. And that you don't follow the first mood or the first thought that is rolling around in your head from your dream state. What you do is you create the emotion, and you create the thoughts that you'd like to think for that day, taking charge of the first moments of your day. So that leads me into my third thing that I wish I knew then that I know now, is that I have power over my feelings. I never knew that. My feelings were the dictator of my life. If I felt sad, then sadness was my day. If I felt angry, then anger was my day, and bitterness and looking at what was wrong with others, blame, judgment, right? If I felt anxiety, then I would look for and see anxious things, scary things. Life was a scary place. But I've learned now, and I wish I knew then, that when I wake up, I say, what do I get to feel today? I get to choose what I feel today. And today I choose joy. Today I choose enthusiasm. Today I choose passion. Today I choose being vivacious and invigorated. Today I choose peace. Today I choose fun. And today, one of the things I'll say, and it's actually, I can wake up and feel really crappy and feel like, even, since, different things that have happened in my life that have really hurt me, a lot of, tragedy and stuff, I can wake up crying. And I've literally woken up crying at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't even know, I didn't realize when I woke up because of grief or whatever. So what I'll do is you can forget in that moment because the emotion is so strong. You can forget that you have some power over it. And it almost feels like very odd to say something like, I get to choose how I feel today, when you're so sad or when you're so upset over, something unjust, let's say, and to say, so I'm going to choose this. It feels like you're lying. But in actuality, all you're doing is commanding the way you want your day to be, the way you want to feel. Again, I always want to tell you guys that I'm not ever encouraging repressing your emotion. I don't agree with that. I think we have to address what we're feeling and move through it. But we also don't want it to be in charge, because it's just an emotion, and emotion is a chemical reaction. And it's, we become addicted to the feelings that we feel the most and the way in which we have interacted with this emotion throughout our life. And it can become something that our body becomes addicted to, and we go through withdrawal chemically when we don't feel that same feeling. So when you start to move away from depression or anxiety or anger, the different chemicals that are released in your body, what will happen is your body will put an alert out, and it'll feel like a withdrawal, and it'll pull you back to feel the emotion so that it can have the chemicals released that it's addicted to go into the synapse. So I want you to know that you have more power than you realize. Just try it. Okay. The third thing I wish I knew is that I had, that my thoughts dictate everything I create, that there are two creations, and that what I think is the creator of my life. So, and our thoughts are born of our belief system that has been born in us from the time we're actually physically born, or probably before that. Within our mother's womb. So the creation of belief is something that's dictating everything we do. And so I wish I knew that if I was in charge of the way I thought, that I would be able to have different outcomes. And the fourth thing I really wish I knew is that every second of my life is being built by me. Now, I'm a person of faith. I believe in God. Whatever you believe is, I just bless you and honor whatever you believe. But for me, my perspective is that if I'm a co-creator with the universe, with God, with my creator, with the source, with infinite love, infinite intelligence, and that all of that is available to me, and that we are magnificent creatures that have so much that we are capable of doing, greater things than these we can do, but we just don't know it. Those who have eyes to see, let them see. So what I really am asking you to do is to just practice, try it. It's fun. And it's not some hokey thing. This is real science. And I want you to understand that what I'm talking about, I think that a lot of what's happened is that with real science, quantum physics, and different things about the power of thought. We have, over 100 years ago, we harnessed the insurmountable power of electricity, right? But we act like it's nothing now, but it's invisible. How did we even do that? And the real thing is that we have an incredible amount of power in our thoughts. Our thoughts are these electrical impulses. They move faster than the speed of light. They can be in the future and create things without our knowing it. And we're very, very dumbed down because we're living we're not living in wave, we're living in particle. And when you're doing that, we're in a 3D world where most of what is coming at us perceptually is completely filtered out. So, I remember learning this in Psych 101. It wasn't Psych 101. It was the psychology of perception, but it was like my first semester. And they described that our filtering system, our eyes, ears, nose, mouth, our five senses, and our brain is filtering out so much information that it would be so overwhelming, it would kill us. It's just too much information, light, sounds, you're just like, and it's not visible to us. And we want to remember that there's so much power outside of our physical bodies. So there's two creations. So when I looked out in my yard, when I first moved there, I saw a pool, I saw a basketball court. I designed it in my mind. And guess what? Now it's there. The things that I want, I see them and I visualize them and I spend time on that. And I am not good at it at all, because honestly, whatever you can visualize and stay with and start to create in your mind, you will eventually have. Now, whether you believe me or not, there's nothing I can do about that. But don't leave your hateful comments, okay? Or your mean-spirited shit. Okay, let's go back. But just a tag on the inside note. Anyhow, I'm just kidding. Not really. Back to what I'm saying. What I wish I knew then that I know now is that my belief system was created through just very random means. And my whole belief system, the way I perceive the world, Albert Einstein says this, I hope it's him because everybody tags his name on all this shit, but I believe that it was him that said, we have to decide, what is the world that we've born into? Were we born into a hostile and cruel world? Or were we born into a world that's a friendly place? And, a lot of that is determined by how quickly our parents picked us up when we were crying. Do my needs get met? Were people mean to me? Were you abused? Were you physically abused, sexually abused? Were you emotionally abused? Did people ignore you? Did your feelings matter? All of those things were creating beliefs inside of you neurologically. And just to sum it up in a really quick way, it's just kind of like anything, any moment, any nuance in your life when you were a teeny baby and throughout, between 2 and 7 years old, you had made 1.5 quadrillion synaptic connections, which is the meaning that you've attached to the moments that you experienced. 1.5 quadrillion is 1,000 trillion connections within neurons in your brain that are, developing. So these become laid down, they become part of our wiring. And then anything that doesn't match that wiring is filtered out. So this is an incredible knowledge to have. I wish I knew that. I wish this was taught in schools. I feel, I don't know even how to describe how strongly I feel about the fact that children do not know this, that, age appropriately, we are not teaching this to human beings. How could this possibly be that math and reading, I love reading. I can't say that because shit, everybody should freaking read, but that this stuff is not part of life learning for human beings to understand their operating system, which is our body. And our body separates us from a lot of things that we need to know. And we end up allowing our body to dictate to us instead of us being in charge of our body. So I talk about all of this in my book. my daughter is repeatedly calling me right now. See how calm I am? But anyhow, so as long as we do not dictate, what is happening, as long as we do not, as long as we do not allow other things outside of us or our body to dictate our life and where we're going, and we understand that we have the power to dictate where we go, we're in a win-win situation. We are winning. And that's what I really wish I had known when I was growing up. And I hope, and a big part of this podcast, I want to tell everybody that I can. My book, The Truth is Good Enough, is coming out. I'm so excited. It's been such a labor for me. It's just not a labor, just I have had so much anxiety about it, to like share things about myself and just to have people be able to criticize me. Like, what the fudge is that? Like, they write reviews, yuck. So just putting myself out there has been hard for me, but, I hope that I could get your support, that, if it really, really sucks, like, you'll be nice to me at least. But anyhow, I'm just kidding. But what I really want you to know is that we have all the things inside of us to create the life that we want. And that's basically what my book is about. We have to know the truth about what's happening inside of our brain, our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, our belief system, and then know the direction that we actually have, that we have the power to change our outcomes through actively, intentionally thinking in the way that we want to live in the future, and to actively, intentionally be in charge of our chemical system, to be in charge of our emotional state, because we get to decide that, and to decide how our time is spent, that where are our first fruits spent? What are we doing financially? Everybody's complaining about wanting money, wanting everything, and they walk into their grave wanting. And you can spend your whole life wanting and never getting. Wanting is a state of lack. So I just want to reiterate the incredible importance of, if you're regretting what you know now because you didn't know it then, and you're going to spend even a moment doing that, understand what this means. What this means is that today, this moment that you're in, awake and aware in the now, without judgment of what you haven't done, in a state of peace, you can create the life that you want. I want to thank you so much for listening to this show. I'm looking forward to a lot of great guests that are about to come on, and I'm really looking forward to them because they're great people. And I would love it if you could subscribe, leave a review. I would love to help as many people as I can before I hit my grave. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.